brought up to me this new podcast that one of her other friends is listening to called Blink. And it's Jake Haendel's story. And it's produced with
Corinne Vien.
Didn't think I was going to like it at first at all. It didn't really sound too interesting to me. But then I got into it and I could not stop listening. How did you feel about it?
I liked it right away. I like the sound of her voice, like alone, and I like his voice too.
Which is funny.
It's unique.
Because he doesn't like his voice at all.
Yeah.
So Jacob Haendel was diagnosed with leukoencephalopathy. So it's a rare and deadly brain disease that destroys the white matter inside of the brain, and doctors gave him 6 months to live. So his brain was deteriorating rapidly, and he slipped into a coma and was declared terminal. And where it gets weird is he was on a ventilator at some point, had all this stuff going on, and he claims the entire time he heard everyone.
Which freaks me out.
For sure. So everyone thinks you're pretty much brain dead and a vegetable, but yet you know exactly what's going on around you. And it's called locked-in syndrome, and it sounds terrifying.
Which my mom did say one time during surgery. She woke up, she could hear everything that was going on. I think it's kind of the same thing, but in some instances...
Like the date rape drug.
Yeah.
You know what's going on, but sometimes they don't.
Do you know what freaks me out is how many people have been in these comas? All these systems are telling them that they're brain dead or whatever, and here they're just trapped in their own body. Some of them have probably passed. Could they have went a little longer? Did family give up too soon?
Like, oh my God, could you imagine them talking about trying to kill you? And then you're like, no, don't, I'm not ready to die. And all of a sudden they pull the plug.
Or talking about you, he's brain dead, who cares? And you're sitting there listening and you cannot move or do anything.
That is terrifying.
It is.
So Jacob was fully conscious during his coma, and he heard every word of every conversation, even the ones where people discussed him as if he were already dead. He described being in total darkness, unable to move, talk, or react, but was completely consciously aware. So they do call it, as I said earlier, locked-in syndrome. So your body's paralyzed, but your mind is totally awake. And that is so scary, as Sarah and I just said. So controlling his own movements. Jacob said that he learned how to control his spasms and seizures. They kept calling them like neurostorming, I think. It's when your body, a temperature goes up and down so quickly and your muscles like tense up and spasm. Everything in your body is just going off. It's called a neurostorm.
Yes, which he learned how to intentionally create because he was lonely.
He wanted attention.
And his dad is the one that first noticed it, actually. Anytime it seemed like a situation was arising is when it would happen, so.
That's crazy. When he was just desperate to make a connection, he said that's when he was able to start the movements because the isolation was driving him insane.
Could you imagine not being able to move? Not being able to see. Now, I think his eyes were opened, but they were like always looking straight up.
Oh, like fixed.
And he really couldn't see anything until whatever miracle happened.
I can't imagine talking to just myself for 9 months. I mean, I'm great with inner conversations, but oh my God, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
I can barely sit still here while we're doing this, let alone if I was like, her thoughts would just
run wild.
But he said that he would have conversations in 2 different voices with himself.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny to me.
He's one of those 35% or whatever that do talk to themselves.
Yeah, inner dialogues. He was supposed to die in this case. They said it was terminal, and he lingered in between space, but not dead, but not fully alive, but trapped. I just think it's weird. Like, is that what happens when you die? Do you just have to like sort through it and ask these questions? I don't know.
He did say, like, at one point they said overnight he was gonna die. It was gonna happen. And he said he thinks he may have
made that choice.
And he thinks his mom said you're not ready. Because he had a situation where, I guess we'll probably get into like his past and what led him up and what really caused this. So
yeah. It's so hard. So he goes through his whole story with these people. So his is toxic. The form of this disease he has was created himself by drugs. So there's people can get it passed down in genetics, this disease, leukoencephalopathy.
We're learning it's a very tricky word.
It is a tricky word. So some people are born with it genetically, but other people get it through inhaling intoxicants.
Toxins.
Yeah. Toxins. Intoxicants is what I was thinking, but toxins, yes.
I don't know if intoxicants is a word. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we will. And
what I read, and of course we're not professional meth people, or heroin. I think it was the heroin and the toxins released from the foil. Supposedly, something in those two intertwined and caused this toxic chemical to his brain.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, I mean, essentially he did this to himself, which I see so many meth heads out there, like especially, I don't know, I just see a lot of meth heads out there. So my question is, how does this not happen to everyone?
Yeah, is he special?
So we started listening to it. Starts off kind of slow. He's just describing, you know, his childhood, like his mom's sick, parents divorced, kind of crazy situations, and how he became a high school drug dealer. I mean, it started out really smart. Like he's like a Jewish kid just wants some money like all the other Jewish people. I was like, how? Like that's supposed to be like, what do you call that? Like a generalization.
There's a word for it.
There is.
I don't know the word.
So Jewish people are associated with being cheap. But he was like, I need to produce supply and demand. And his dad would take him to like Sam's Club and buy cases of pop, and he would just auction off like 2 or 3 at lunch. So that way, you know, it was a hot commodity. Everyone wanted it. Drove up the price. Yep. I mean, I was like, who thinks of this as a high school student?
Then he upgraded from the pops, I think, to actually like food and snacks or something. Yeah. So. And then drugs.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely thinking outside of the box from a young age. I mean, it was smart till it wasn't.
Every school has a high school drug dealer, probably.
Yes.
I know ours did have a few. I never bought them, but.
Yeah, I don't know who they were, but I'm assuming there were. But anyway, so then he had a high school girlfriend. They stayed in contact. Then he ended up, you know, they were separating for a while. And then he met Ellen, who then became his wife. And she was on drugs a little bit, but she was also like the drug addict that didn't want people to know she was a drug addict, I guess.
As far as time frame goes, this all started in like 2016. It went on for 18 months. I figure we should probably tell you that part.
It was just recorded this year. Jake sounds like he's believable, if you will. Like I believe his story. And at one point he was talking about like astral projection, which I'm so intrigued by astral projection. I don't know if it's real or not, but according to Jake, no matter what you want to call it, he says it's real. Because he said his eyes were like up on the ceiling. He couldn't see, right, at all. He could only hear. But he saw the whole room. And he said it was almost like a security camera that could zoom in on everything. And once he learned how to talk again, would talk to the nurses about this stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, that's true, that happened.
His aunt too came at one point, and I think he knew the whole conversation.
He also knew what she was wearing because he couldn't see, because he thought he was even hallucinating at one point.
Yeah.
He was like, I can't see, like, why am I seeing?
That is true. One of the things that freaked me out about his wife, so he got married, obviously, before he was sick, but he was a drug addict, and she supposedly didn't know the drugs he did, even though she did drugs. I don't think she liked the pills
and she didn't
and the heroin.
Something about her thinking that was one of the worst ones.
But when she said, was it the day of their wedding or the day after the wedding? She's like, at that point, she found out he did drugs on occasion. And she said, I want to know about this heroin. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And then he did not want to give it to her, and she ended up doing it. So I think she somewhat battled addiction, but he also talks good about her in some instances where she was rooting for him to get better and all this other stuff.
She initially sounded like a supportive partner, essentially, but then she must have an addictive personality, got addicted to the drugs, and maybe just her reasoning went awry. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because then she starts making a series of bad choices. And at one point, she pushed his dad down the stairs and was fighting with his brother. So all of a sudden, he is exiled, not exiled from his family.
She basically made it so it was just them. She wouldn't let people come, and just got really controlling.
She isolated him.
Yep. And also made him upset with his own family in some instances.
Yeah, because even though he could hear everything, he couldn't tell what exactly happened. Like, he couldn't see who pushed who down the stairs or see if his dad attacked her first. So he kind of just believed that the dad may have attacked his wife. And he does seem to be a very sensitive type of person. Yeah. Like, trying to be, like, in tune to other people's feelings, which is...
It got to the point to where she basically took him out of his own house because they were living in his house. And she was the main caretaker. And when that happened, police, courts got involved. They tried to fix it. And then eventually it got bad again. And he was suing her. I don't know where that all went, because this is ongoing podcast. It's not ended yet.
Right. So they've probably started their divorce proceedings. I don't know if they were already now divorced, because it sounds like they were still fighting it, but was that real time, or was it just in the podcast and I didn't know the timeline?
There's more updates. They were supposed to release like another episode. It comes out, I think, on Sundays. We're just anticipating the next release, but you should definitely go listen to this podcast.
Yeah. One of the most shocking parts was his wife used to please him physically during his coma. So it was an emotional, controversial, intimate moment. He recalls it as it felt good, but yet he was in so much pain. Like, when people touched his skin, it just hurt. And
we didn't mention that yet, but even though he was in a coma, couldn't move, he felt a lot of pain. This guy was in pain constantly, and severe pain from what we hear.
Pretty much at some point, she starts jacking him off in front of nurses.
Yes.
And this guy's got a great sense of humor. He's like, I've honestly been jacked off on all 5 floors of this hospital.
Yes.
But he had no idea it was that many times.
That's crazy to me. So basically, she was told he had 6 months to live. The process of this disease starts slow, and then eventually you go to the coma state, and nobody ever with this disease has ever lived through what Jake has. And that's why this is so important. We could be putting people to heaven that don't want to be there and could have woke up and lived. So, which is scary. And I hope none of you are worried that happened, because I think back to anybody I know. I'm like,
I did think back to my nanny who was in hospice and she couldn't like really communicate. And I was reading her Bible verses, like ones that she'd noted. And I'm like, I wonder if she appreciates this or is like, shut the fuck up, Jessica.
I mean, I guess he would have those thoughts too. So it's like, I mean, I've been in some rooms with people and we probably had conversations just assuming the person's not listening. Like at hospice, unfortunately, cancer loves my family. True. And to think that they're listening.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, I kind of just always took it as she was there and listening. Didn't do anything weird. Other people may have.
Right. Like what she did. So basically she told them, I want his sperm because he's going to die and I want his baby. But the hospital was conflicted because how do they let her do that stuff?
Yeah,
even though it's...
You can't do this. It's not medically okay.
Like can't consent to it.
Yeah.
And she was like, too bad. Either you can watch it or not.
And it could kill him.
Yes, which it was painful for him. He said it was like a mixture of like pain and
he said
like
it was
all
confusing.
of it. Yeah,
it was confusing and hurtful and good. And
so and his machines would go off. Like all his alerts would start going off because his heart rate, everything's going crazy. And she got mad because when that happens, the staff would come in. So she started like basically putting a sign on the door that said, don't come in here even if the alarms are going off, because she's doing that sometimes multiple times a day.
Yeah. And when you think of hospitals, you just don't think of this aspect of like people being there for semi-long term and these intimate moments going on. Yeah. I didn't think about it at all until I watched Dying for Sex, because she was a cancer patient and she had never had an orgasm. And she goes, I'm not dying of cancer without ever having an orgasm. And I'm in my, I think she was like in her 30s. And
Oh,
she
wow.
was like upset about it. And I'm like, oh, that would be so depressing.
There are some people that never can, I guess, but
Well, this girl figured it out. She got one.
she did.
Yeah,
Good.
so.
On TV, recorded. No,
Yeah,
that was
someone
probably
playing
fake.
her best. So,
So that's a true story, though.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Another one
So
to
that's
watch.
another good one. So anyway, I didn't ever think about this aspect. So the doctors didn't know what to do. The nurses didn't know
Right,
what to
like
do.
if that was the vice versa and the female was the patient, would it have been treated differently?
That's what he brought up because, you know, sex for men isn't as invasive as it is for women. But they did say, like, what if a man did this to a woman, just like you're
Right.
saying?
Did you know that was the law changed? Did that podcast teach me that at one point a man could take whatever he wanted
Even
whenever,
from his
and
wife.
it recently, it was like not even that
Yeah.
long ago that it changed, and I had no clue that.
Mhm.
I mean, I knew, but I didn't know like it didn't matter. You were giving it.
Yeah, like it wasn't a crime to rape your wife.
No.
Like if I don't want to have sex, you're not making me do it.
Right.
It's not happening.
And before you would be allowed.
Yeah,
I mean,
before they would just do it. I mean, that creates some major resentment. Talk about relationship issues.
Now in other countries, who knows? It may still be like that.
Yeah, not cool, people.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to move on from that a little bit, but that was very interesting. So when we left the last episode, it went off on 10. 10's the highest right now, episode 10. And they said that they had new breaking news. And what happened is they were getting in touch with the hospitals and things, verifying these stories. And of course, the hospitals don't want to talk about a lot of this stuff. And he is going through the divorce and everything. They're like, we have new information on Elle and the divorce, and then it left us.
Yes. They do have an episode that came out that Jessica hopefully subscribes to, because you have to subscribe to listen to that one. The ones we're talking about are completely
They're
free.
paid. Like when we tell you guys we have the Patreon where you can support us.
Yes, which nobody has yet.
No, they have not. Which I'm not feeling upset about, people. I get it. You don't care that much. I don't know if I would either. At any rate, I'm going to pay for this one. I'm going to do it. I usually don't do those things.
Good. And then I'll just use your paid for membership to listen myself.
Exactly.
Don't ever do that to us, though.
So I just love that I couldn't stop listening. Like, that's a good one. I've already been talking about it, telling people. My husband tuned in maybe on episode 10, and he was like, oh, this is kind of really interesting. And I was like, see, not everything I listen to is murder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this isn't murder.
So you really enjoyed it too?
Yes. And I'm not a podcaster. The only time I listen to a podcast is when I'm editing ours.
But you are a podcaster.
Or wait, yeah. I mean, I'm not a podcast listener. I am now.
A podcaster.
I'm reformed, or whatever the word is. I love podcasts, and you should too, especially ours.
Yeah, they're just so interesting. So I just can't imagine being that helpless and just, I don't know, that whole thing is so weird to me. But it also, once again, brings me hope about death, that we still move on with things.
What's funny is he did say the same thing a lot of people say when he thought he was almost dying. It's like he did, and he thinks it was his mom that brought him back down.
I think that's great, though. I mean, anything that gives me hope that we're all just not dead laying.
Oh, yeah. He said the feeling he had at that point, it was like a sense of calm, and he wasn't scared. And a lot of people say that same thing.
The calmness comes over them.
Yeah. We'll know more. We're going to get our psychic medium.
He did say that made me feel better. It made him feel better about his mom's death, because she died of cancer, and that's kind of what he was already spiraling with drugs. But then when his mom died, it was tenfold.
Yeah.
So,
and he thought it made him realize that she didn't feel the pain he hoped she wasn't feeling, is kind of what.
And his ex-wife did just so many things. So she was pocketing his money and, not paying the hospitals, all these bills and everything. I mean, the wife really did a number. And I remember at one point he was talking about, she bought this house, and he's like, it's a really nice house, has a built-in pool and stuff. We've never lived anywhere like that. Like, how can she afford that? Well, we're still trying to figure that out. But we looked it up today. We found the house. We found the pool. And
her phone number.
Yeah. But
we're going to call her.
I mean, the house isn't that great, and it needed updating. Now, she might have been updating it. I don't know. But I have a feeling she's a very average person. And once this podcast gets out, I think I'd be a little scared.
Well, that was one of their fights in the divorce. First off, he wanted the Alexa, which would have been helpful for him.
I think what it did is it understood his voice now.
Yes, they were using it for training purposes. Yes. That's what I meant.
And so it understood how he's talking slower. It just understood him. And not to teach a new one his voice.
But she wouldn't. Difficult. She said no. Like, why? And then he wanted his few things was wanting his sperm back.
Yeah, because she was harvesting his sperm.
Yeah.
Which we didn't say either.
His dad,
baby, and the dad paid for the freezing of it.
But he thought that's what his son would want. And here, he didn't want that, especially because she wanted to divorce him after that.
I was like, this woman, like, probably thinks she has the worst luck in the world. She thought she won the lottery, got to steal all of his money, kill him off. I mean, what? Who does this? And I'm waiting for the next twist. Either he has a baby with her, and we don't know yet.
Something.
Or
they're back together.
She's in jail.
I hope they're not. No, we just checked her record.
Oh, we did. No, she's not in jail.
She's not a troublemaker on paper.
She's not a troublemaker. She has no trail.
If we get brave, we'll give her a call one day. See if she wants to talk to us.
How is she not wanting to tell her point of view?
Well, that's the other thing. She wanted this to not be talked about at all. And he said, absolutely not. That's one thing I'm not giving up on. I'm talking about the story.
And rightfully fucking so.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an experience, the poor guy. And I think she may have done it on purpose. I think that might come out too. That
she gave him something to cause it. I thought that the whole time.
But these are all just alleged thoughts.
Allegedly. Everything we say allegedly, unless we say we know for a fact.
Yeah, like I don't know any of this. These are just my thought processes on where I go. And I'm wondering what the next twist is going to be because I know there has to be one.
What was his dad's name? Remember I found that other name that's connected.
So I'm just wondering if that's, I don't know, what the next twist will be.
Yes, and the reason I had a point to why I brought up what I just brought up. What did I just bring up? I can't remember now, but there was a point.
I'm sure there was. I'm
ADHD.
Sorry. I probably interrupted you, and if I interrupt a train of thought.
Well, that happens to anybody.
Yeah, at least us. I don't know. At work, they'll always be saying stuff to me, and I'm like, I have no memory. Like, I don't remember 2 seconds ago. If it's not written down, it's out of my brain.
That's me. Brian will have a whole conversation, and 5 minutes later, I'll be like, did you ever talk to that one person? He's like, did you not just listen to anything I said? Whoops.
Oh, my God.
I was listening, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
We're Sarah and Jess pulling chairs to the table, sharing these stories wild and unstable. Trash talk to tacos, it's how we play. New episodes dropping every Tuesday.